Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Shield Frontline Encounters, where we dive deep into real stories from the front lines of law enforcement. I'm your host, Adam, and today I'm talking with Brett Titus. Brett Titus has been in the industry for over 30 years. Not only has he done K9, SWAT, he also created his own company. Brett, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So I have a few questions for you, man. This is going to be a pretty simple podcast. But the first question I got for you is, what drew you into law enforcement?
Well, see, there you go. You're already starting off. That's not simple. That's a tough one. But no, it's we've all heard everybody in the industry when we sat down for our oral boards, or you're trying to fill out a resume to be a cop. You always put and I did too, and I felt it back then as well. About the want to serve, want to protect, and all of that is true. It really is, and that's the way I felt. But what really got me into it was my dad. Growing up, he was a cop back in Michigan, and sitting around listening to his stories, and his buddies would come over and they'd have a few drinks, and I'd just sit on the floor by the kitchen table and listen to them talk about the fun they had about chasing these bad guys and putting these really bad people in jail and protecting their communities. And I thought, man, that's for me. And, I'm not the office guy. I guess I kind of am now that I'm retired, which drives me crazy. But that was the biggest reason, man. It just the fun and the fun of protecting your community and protecting people. I boil it down to just bottom line, having fun doing that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm far off from retirement. I still got 20 some years of retirement before I can retire, but hey,
enjoy it, brother. Blink of an eye, it goes by.
Yeah, it's pretty fun though. I got my hat in a lot of stuff, so it's pretty cool. Do you miss it? You miss law enforcement?
I do. I do. There came a time where I spent 20 plus, almost 21 years on our Denver, as you know, has a full-time SWAT team. And that was always fun. I mean, especially with the guys. I worked with some of the greatest group of guys, and the adrenaline dumps and the amount of operations that we did, we were just so busy. So I miss that.
Yeah.
What I don't miss is, the downside of it, as we all know, the call outs and the sleepless nights and the bad things that we do see. But all in all, I miss the guys and I miss the adrenaline dump. But the rest of it, I'm pretty content being doing the business guy thing now.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally awesome. So you just mentioned now that you did Denver SWAT. Did you do SWAT before you were a K9, or were you K9 before SWAT?
Yeah, so Denver was really unique at the time. When I went over to the unit in 99, there you go, there's dating myself. In 99, I worked District 2, Northeast Denver for about 5 years, and then I made it over to the K9 unit, which is attached to the SWAT team.
Okay.
Had my first dog, spent about 5 years on the road with him, and really started to embed myself and get deployed with the SWAT guys quite a bit. And then in time, about my second dog, we figured out a program here in Denver that, it should just be another tool to be a part of the SWAT team. So they moved me out of K9 in, I want to say 2004, and assigned me to the SWAT team. So I had a SWAT sergeant and did almost all of my training with the team, with the unit, and then just incorporated the dog. So I was real fortunate to kind of start that program. One of very few from that I know of that actually embedded a full-time dog on a team.
That's what I was going to ask. I was like, is that pretty common for an officer to jump into it with just a few short years like that? Is it, or?
I got lucky. I fully admit it. I got lucky. I had got into a lot of not trouble. When I say trouble as a patrolman, I mean good trouble. I stirred it up. I was kind of a shit magnet. I hope we're allowed to cuss, but
you're good.
That got me into the unit early. And then just again, Love to work out, love to do a lot of the shooting and the tactics that the SWAT guys were doing. So I would just show up and start training with them. And all of a sudden we became friends. And then they're like, yeah, why aren't you on this side of the house and part of the team? And that's when it happened. So yeah, very, very blessed, very lucky.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How many dogs did you end up having in your course of career?
I had three,
Three.
three, three amazing dogs. Gosh, yeah, that part of it, brother, I really miss. I miss those guys. My final one passed about 2 years ago, and again, very lucky, very blessed that hell, they all lived to be. The youngest was 13, the other two were 14, so I had them for a long time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I've known you for quite a while, so I got to know some of them. But
Right, that's right.
you also made a book, right? The Oscar dog. That was one of your dogs. I
Yeah, I
love
did.
that
That
book.
was my first. Thank you. That was that was my first dog, and it started with kind of a joke. My wife at the time, Leslie, she's like, "Man, you got so many cool stories. You should write a book." And I go, "Nah, what the hell do I know about writing?" So we decided to sit around at a bar and for several weeks, and I'd get a few drinks with me and just start telling stories, and she would record them. And then we turned around and she typed it up, and between the two of us, we ended up getting it finished and published and wrote a book. So yeah, and
Yeah.
as you can tell,
Oh,
it's not the most well written book, but I think the point got across.
no, you got across. I really liked it. I really enjoyed that book. I'm not gonna lie. Earlier in my career, when you told me about it, and I was just, I mean, as you know, I was just starting off. I tell, I mean, now I do a lot of training and stuff. It took me 16 years to. I still can't figure out canine, but I'm still doing it. And now I'm training and stuff. And I tell all my new rookies and new officers that come, to my company to do dogs. I tell them the story about when we first met and pretty much how I didn't know shit about dogs, and basically I mean, you were like a big mentor to me, and you showed me a lot, and honestly, you just reality checked me in the very beginning. That it's not for everybody. It's not canine is a whole different breed, but what stuck to me is the fact that you weren't lied about it either. You like I tell the guys all the time, especially starting off, like how you pretty much made me feel like shit, like I was a shit canine. But that's cool. It made me wonder, realize that canine is just such an amazing thing that not every officer gets the opportunity to do, and when you do it, you got to do it right. So, for me, I
Right.
instill that with all my students now. So it's great.
Well, for your listeners, and I'll reciprocate that. I think there's a compliment in there somewhere, but yeah, you've done a great job. You've really done a great job, and you have really proven yourself. But yeah, I've always been of that mindset that I'm not going to bullshit you, and God forbid you go out there because somebody signed a piece of paper saying you're certified. And I hate that word, but and then you go out and get killed.
Right.
And it's just I can't bear that. So that's why I have been pretty hard on some of you guys. But at the end of the day, and provable now because I see the success that you had working dogs and training dogs, that yeah, I did the right thing. So
Yeah.
so I'm not going to say I'm sorry, but I will say that I'm glad I did it because you turned out to be a hell of a handler.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, I don't, you definitely humbled me when that occurred. You definitely made me think that, all right, like if this is the career path that I want to do, I got to work hard at it. And ever since then, I've never looked back. I just hold your words into it. I just go forward. So I do appreciate that.
Well, good.
So yeah, I do appreciate that again, Brett. So, let's talk about a little bit about your company, Brett. LifeSpot. I had an opportunity to do that with the agency that I'm with now, and man, what an amazing app. Do you want to tell the viewers what we're talking about?
Yeah, so being on a full-time team, and I think the whole world probably knows that, Colorado, we are plagued with these active shooters, active killers, and I've I've had an amazing career, great career. The unfortunate part of my career is I've been in shootings and mass shootings and responding to active shooters and school shootings. And during that time, those are always one. Any of your cops that are listening today know that the hardest thing for us is getting there, right? It's like, damn, we are always late. We are always late. That threat is always measured in seconds, and our response is always minutes. So there were 7 basic challenges, 7 things that go wrong at every single active killer event, no matter what venue, schools or churches. It didn't matter. So I thought to myself, what could we do to solve these challenges? So that's where the app came from, and so basically we solved 7 of the challenges of an active shooter. So response time being number 1. Because of the problems we have with the notification process, which is the challenge number 2, we need to be able to notify everybody immediately. And the way it works today can take minutes, if not dozens of minutes, before everyone that needs to know knows. Then we solved the communication challenge, the locating the injured challenge, reunification challenge. So again, there's 7 things that a really simple to use phone app. Our mission is schools. We want to protect our children. I think you and all of your listeners would agree that that's our number 1 resource, man. I mean, we got to protect our children. But it's funny, we are now in the craziest of places that I would have never thought of. Hospitals, casinos, zoos, office complexes, horse race tracks. So they're finding across the country that our technology is enhancing law enforcement response and the safety of the people that are involved. So that's what I retired to do. I did 27 years in Denver, and I left early. I know 27 doesn't sound early, but it is early. So this is what I do full time now, is run LifeSpot.
So do you think that your 27-year career, do you think that this helped you, in a sense, develop this app to better the officers and the response time?
Yeah, it's funny. 100%. The time I spent on the street and the calls that I've responded to and the things I've seen and lived through definitely helped to figure out what we needed to fix. As far as the app goes, I am no tech guy. Hell, I can barely operate my own damn phone. But you just find some really brilliant people that know how to do that, and you put it all together. So I've got a engineer that's amazing, and I take his experience and put it with mine. And then I've got a team of people that run businesses that help me with that. So I really, at the end of the day, I offer very little for the company itself, with the exception of lessons learned and how to protect people. But the business itself is run by people that are far, far smarter than I.
Well, I mean, just the knowledge base that you have to be able to create this app, be able to work 27 years on the SWAT team. I had an opportunity when you came down to us to not only do the LifeSpot trading, but we also, at the end of it, did a little bit of tactics, and you showed us your expertise in SWAT, and you showed us, what it, as far as like our canines and stuff go, and how they, how we would move as a team, including with our canine unit, to eliminate the threat. And man, it was such an awesome experience. I definitely want to try to get out there more and get you out there if you ever have the time to try to do that some more to some other schools. Because man, when we were doing it at the school that we were doing it in, man, it made you realize, like, definitely, even though it was just a practice run, the blind spots, the the way the structure of the buildings and stuff were, man, it just was definitely an eye opener towards the whole situation. And then you put live spot in the view of it, where you're seeing where the officers are, you're seeing where the students and the teachers are, you're seeing where the threat is at, and of course in the communication side of your app, where you're looking at it and you're seeing all this I wouldn't say mess, but this compiled of
Chaos.
data just
Yeah.
telling you
Yeah.
that this is where it's at and this is what it's doing. So for the dispatchers or the communication guy that's outside of the building, monitoring everything, that app is amazing. And what you do
Thank
is
you.
amazing for it's a blessing, I guess, is that's what I'm trying to say. It's a blessing that you and your team created this app. As a young dad myself, I love the fact that you have this app, because it makes me feel safer, the fact that with this app, the officers that are responding or the officers that are on scene can do everything that they need to do in their power. Because as you know, there's history behind it. Are officers reacting? Are they not? And with this app, it just builds that boost of confidence, knowing that there is somebody coming.
Very cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's that training we did. That's the part I miss, even though I'd been retired for a little bit then. But just going out and hanging with the troops and just sharing some of the things that I've experienced. That's very rewarding to me. That's the biggest part I miss as well. Just that camaraderie and the training part. And hopefully, that's the thing. If you do one minute thing, you may not even notice it. But if it saves one life, then it was worth it. And if you break it down, the more opportunities you can put out there, the more tools, the more advice, the more experience that you can share. It just may be that one time. You may do 1,000 trainings and give 1,000 pieces of advice and share 1,000,000 experiences. And at the end of the day, it's just one life, and that's all that matters. So that's what I believe in now. And I believe that with even not being physically on the street, I still feel like I'm serving. I'm still protecting our kids and our community, just using technology. So that's the rewarding part, to circle back to that very first question of why. Why be a cop? Well, it's that feeling right there that if you can just do one thing and save one life, that's gonna change you for the better forever.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. Can you tell us a little bit of how this app works for an active shooter, like high threat scenario?
Yeah. So again, those 7 things that I talked about.
Yeah.
So one, we are notifying 5 groups. So you got 911, the cop on the street, command staff, fire, EMS, and most importantly, let's just talk about teachers and staff at that school. We're notifying them in less than 5 seconds. Now, the standard way of dialing 911, well, let's hope, one, you get through. There are so many major cities that personnel shortages, and these poor dispatchers are working 12, 16-hour days, and they're just getting hammered. It's really difficult when a tragedy strikes to have enough. We don't have 1,500 people call centers. So, there's been, in my experience alone, I responded south of Denver to Arapahoe High School. God rest her soul, young lady, beautiful young lady that was shot and killed, Claire Davis. You had 2,000 kids in that school. They don't even know. They can't even count. The moment that shot rang out, how many kids called 911? And at that particular day in Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, an amazing department, they only had 4 call takers. It's nobody's fault. That's just the way it is. So there was life and death valuable information that just didn't get out. Not to mention, there's no communication to those going in. So it's that notification and that communication. And it's not just a notification. We give you a floor number. We give you about a 35-meter radius of where that threat started, where it was located. So it's all of those little things, even to the lay person, when you share with them those challenges, you just see the heads nod. We're talking about superintendents and very, very brilliant people, but they may not know what really happens in these crises. And that's where we come in and, with the experience that I've had. And not just me, I have taken this around the country. We are all over the country, and I have gotten advice and help and thumbs up from thousands of cops from across the country. So all of that experience combined, because no one knows it all, no one can do it all, but all that experience combined, and then you get the lay person that says, holy shit, you are so right, that does happen. That's where the whole thing comes together, and that's why we're confident, God forbid we ever have to use it, but we will definitely, if it happens, it'll help to save lives.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. As obviously as a fellow officer, and of course, knowing you for a while, knowing what this app is about, doing drills and stuff with this app, you have personal experience yourself, and I feel like if you had this app, it probably would have better prepared you. Um, and like I said, I feel like this app that you've created, if you would have created it, back then, I think would have tremendously changed the outcome of that active shooter. But do you think that maybe also put into some development of your app, just based off of the response of the officer?
Yeah, so the very first portion of it for that cop on the street that's going to be the first one there is he or she, they are getting information in seconds, not waiting for, you think about, again, 911, an amazing system, and dispatchers are some of the hardest working, most disciplined people I've ever met. But at the same time, if you're in you get a bank robbery, an officer involved shooting, and your lines are busy already, and then God forbid you get a school shooting, there's no one there to take those calls. So that cop on the street with our technology is going to get that alert in 5 seconds and just head that way, letting dispatch know via the radio, even if that call doesn't go through, even if that person tried to dial 911, if they use our app to call 911. So LifeSpot is designed to where when you open up LifeSpot and activate it, it takes you to 911. And at the same time, it's sending that notification to all 5 of those groups that I was just describing. Yeah. So it's, the cop on the street's going to get the alert telling them there's an active killer at such and such place. It's going to give them the floor number. It's going to give them the area in the building of where the threat started. And that's really all we need. When you get there, we all have been trained. We have a much better idea what to do now than we did years ago. But that's the bottom line is we've got to get the good guys there faster than we do today and provide as much information as we can.
So obviously, like I say, we've been talking about your app and stuff. How do you see technology evolving to support officers and first responders in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm still, although I wholeheartedly believe in technology, I worry that things are going to get too complicated, overthinking things. There are some systems out there today that are just, in my opinion, and in most of law enforcement's opinion, very dangerous because they're over technifying it, if that's a word.
Yeah.
They're making it difficult, too much tech. I guarantee it, somebody's going to come up with a far better, grandiose idea than we have right now. But again, we just have to be careful of don't make it so damn technical and complicated. There's all kinds of systems out there that, again, if it adds response time, now think about that. If it adds response time and complexity to a staff member or teacher that is already stressed beyond belief, then that's a bad product. We shouldn't do that. I don't care what technology it is. And I see the trend kind of heading that way. Everybody wants more is not always better. So that's what I worry about with upcoming tech is more is not better. There's things out there for, there's tech out there for schools for everything, and there's an active shooter button, there's a tornado button, there's a fire button, there's those problems are solved. We already know about weather. Fire systems, there already been, we haven't lost a child in the fire in, I believe, like 80 some years. So those challenges are already solved. Let's not overcomplicate it by adding tech for the sake of tech. Let's really think about what we need to solve and just stick with that.
Yeah, for sure. So what type of advice, Brett, would you give to agencies or school districts that are just starting to look for improving their emergency response plans?
Yeah, kind of along the lines of what I just said. Really think about what needs to be solved, and then does that particular technology or program really solve it? And if it adds complexity, if it adds response time, I mean, adding complexity adds response time. So that's what look for industry experts. And I used to preach this to you all the time. You remember these lines: certified does not mean qualified.
Right.
And we really need to look at who is qualified for certain jobs. And when you're taking advice from folks that are certified, perhaps, and not qualified, that can be extremely dangerous. Again, we need to be so precise on this and who's protecting our children. So it really needs to be looked into. Resumes can look fluffy and to the lay person look amazing, but for those actually doing the job and understanding tactics and true safety and what that means, those are the ones that we need to lean on and get advice from. So that would be my two biggest things is, know where you're getting advice and know what challenges that product solves.
Right. And do you believe that, in the future, obviously, like you said, and you keep continuously saying technology, is progressing, whether it's too fast or too slow, that's obviously let, people determine that situation. But do you believe that an app like yours is the future? Or what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I do. Again, I'm a little bit biased, of course, but I wouldn't put my name behind anything that I didn't 1,000% believe in. I mean, we are growing. We're growing fast. We are not a huge company, and we're not as big as some of these other tech companies that are out there. But our mission is far more sound. I can promise you that. And in time, we're seeing some of these other companies go by the wayside. Once people find out what we're doing and how we're doing it, they're going, oh my God, that makes so much sense. This is so much better, so much easier, so much faster. So I do. We're working on other things as well. Again, I want to take things slow because this is something that you can't just come up with an idea, spitball it, and throw it out there. It really takes some thought and some effort into making sure that we're doing the right thing. So we've got some ideas, some things in the works to enhance our app. But again, I chew on things for a long time to make sure that the least amount of mistakes are made, because life and death is our final end of the day, what we have to worry about. So when it's that dramatic and that deep, but yeah, so yeah, we definitely, I'm excited to see what the future holds. We are bringing in some really more smart people, and we're really starting to hit the market now, so we can protect as many kids and communities as we can.
Good. Well, Brett, your career has covered some of the most dangerous situations out there, and now you're helping others to develop safety. One thing I do have that we didn't touch on when we were talking about canines, because obviously you've been doing it for a long time. You owned your own company as well. For the young generation of canine handlers who are looking either looking into getting their first dog or the potential of trying to get a new dog. So they're not just hearing it from me. Um, how in your personal, but also your career opinion, how would you say you would select a handler and a dog, for that matter, a handler and a dog for that department?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. So I've written a few articles on it back in the day. I'll talk about handler first. So I used to have a criteria. I used to have a list of, hard hitter, not lazy, good street cop, ethical, those types of things, right? Well, to be honest with you, now I've boiled that down to one word, and this is funny, and I'll explain it, but I truly mean it. It's it. IT. That's it. It. Do they have it? And I've had so many people ask me to describe it. And for the life of me, out of the literally thousands of handlers I've met and or trained with, some have it and some don't. Now, what is it? I just don't know. There's a lot of variables to it. Either you can communicate with another species or you can't. And I've seen some of the smartest guys, athletic guys, the greatest guys and gals on the planet, and they just don't have it. No different than, good Lord, don't ask me to try to do construction. I can't hammer a nail. I can't measure anytime I try to cut a board, I'm always a freaking inch off. So I just don't have it when it comes to being a carpenter or a builder. So we all have our strengths and weaknesses. So, I think those other attributes I said, you cannot be lazy if you're a dog handler. That's a 24/7 job, as you know. That dog is strapped to your ass for 24/7 and or your family. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
You got to be a cop. You got to want to do it. And those are good attributes. But at the end of the day, it's the it factor. And so many guys that have been around a long time that do have it can see it a lot easier than others. So that's the number one thing with a handler is just the it factor. Do they have it or they don't? Because you cannot teach. Maybe if I were to spend a couple months on a construction site, I'd get better and learn how to do it. But at the end of the day, I've seen handlers that just don't have it. And again, we're down to that is one of the most important jobs in law enforcement, because when everything else fails, that dog is that last resort, and there are really lives at stake at that point. So that's what I say for handlers. As far as the dog, again, drives are everything. I got really tired of hearing in the industry about, well, give it time. It's going to come. Now, if it doesn't have it right out of the crate, you ain't going to put it in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about the drive. Is there too much drive in a dog? I used to think not, but if you're training a certain way, you can have that drive and you'll never fix things like outs or recalls because it's just too much drive. So when it comes to the dog, it's all about the drive in the dog. I really believe that right out of the crate, it better have everything because you're not going to put it in. That's Mother Nature.
Right.
And as far as breed of the dog, I get that one all the time. I don't care if it'll work, it'll work. I'll work them. I did sport work for about 15 years, and I trained 4 separate breeds from puppy to Schutzen 3. And they were all the same. One, a Doberman female, a German Shepherd, a Malinois, and a Dutch Shepherd, all from puppy to Schutzen 3. And I'll be damned, they were all identical because I knew the drives that I wanted, and I just waited and found one. And that was not by design. I simply stumbled across a hell of a dog with drive and didn't even care what breed it was.
Yeah, definitely. I get that a lot too, agencies and stuff, first time handlers or guys, a lot of agencies, which I think is kind of where we lax in the industry, I guess, if you want to say, or even in our departments, is because we allow the handlers to, even new coming handlers, determine whether or not they, what they want, what type of breed, what they're asking for. All they know is, oh, it's a dual purpose dog and this is what we want, or we want a single purpose and this is what we want. And, 9 out of 10, I'm always being told, oh, I want a Malinois, I want a Malinois, I want a Malinois, and I'm like, okay, I've had one. I've had Dutch Shepherds, I've had a German Shepherd, I've worked both. I've seen them all. I've worked them, and I honestly, I'm with you on that. It's the drive of the dog. It's not the way they look, the way they, um, you don't want some agencies want that 100-pound German Shepherd. Is that the right dog? And to me, what I tell my clients or potential clients is it's not about the look of the dog. It's about the drive and what you're gonna get and succeed out of that dog. And it's funny how agencies, they just look at it like that, and they give the new coming handler the decision of what to get. They don't understand the liability aspect of it all, I guess.
So true. So true. Yeah. That, again, it's all about the right, fit between the dog and the handler. I've seen it just far too many times that, the selection of a dog is just as important as selection of the handler.
Well, Brett, looking back at your entire career, both on the street and now as a business owner, what's the biggest lesson you've learned?
Oof. The biggest lesson I've learned, God, there's been literally thousands. I have been so fortunate to meet with and train with and deploy with some of the most incredible people in the world. And I look back now, and I think the biggest lesson I learned is to understand those that came before me, those that have done things before I even thought about them. You really got to take that to heart, and you really have to stay humble. I started off my career as getting in some of the coolest, best positions very young. And I just look back now, and I think the biggest lesson is, man, pay attention to those around you that are qualified, and stay humble. That's the biggest thing, because you just never know when it's your turn. So stay humble, and I think everything will come back around, and you'll be blessed at the end of the day, as I am now.
Yeah. So just, I guess we'll wrap it up there, but I do want to let the viewers and stuff know where to where we can get your information, Brett. If you don't mind giving us your information, I'd literally like to get your website, if you can snag that for me, and also how can my viewers that are listening, but also viewers that are gonna see these clips and stuff, where can they connect with you, or how can they connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website is lifespot.com. And my info's on there, even my phone number. So send me an email, or if you even need to call, give me a call. You got any questions or anything that I can answer for you, I'll sure try.
Perfect. I do appreciate it. And what I'll do too is I'll link your website and your contact information on the bottom of this podcast link. That way,
Cool.
viewers and like I said, people that are viewing the podcast and the short clips can look at it and try to snag your information, because I think it's an amazing app. It's amazing what you do. Like always, I've known you for several years now, and you always never seem to amaze me. It's just you just keep going up and up, and I think that's what needs to happen in life. I've always looked at you as a mentor, father figure. You definitely have changed the game and the industry. So I do appreciate it, and I know that the listeners now are appreciating it as well. So yeah, that
Very kind. Well, thank you, and truly honored to do it. Honored to hear that, and honored to know you as well, my friend. So thank you.
I appreciate you, Brett. Well, that's a wrap today for Behind the Shields Frontline Encounters. Huge thanks to Brett Titus for sharing his story, sharing his business, and sharing his future. From the streets of Denver to the tech world, that's helping save lives. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.